last time we looked at the Nintendo 64, and today we're moving on to the GameCube. The reason that I chose GameCube for episode 2 of this series is because GameCube right now is extremely popular. It's almost at its peak price-wise. It's just down a little bit after COVID pricing, but it's still very, very expensive. And I think that there are two main reasons for that. Number one, everyone just seems to love the GameCube. There are so many amazing titles for the GameCube. It spawned a bunch of franchises that are still running today, and it has entries into franchises and series that everybody loves. We have games like Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and Monkey Ball that all started on the GameCube. And I know that in Japan, Animal Forest was released on the Nintendo 64, but at least here in the United States, the Animal Crossing game on GameCube was everyone's first introduction to that franchise. We also have incredible games in series like Resident Evil, Sonic the Hedgehog. There's 4 different Mario Party games on the GameCube. There's a ton of Tony Hawk. There's a ton of Legend of Zelda. There's just so much good stuff for the GameCube, and unfortunately, a lot of these games were not released on PlayStation 2 or Xbox because they're Nintendo franchises, so the only way to play them is on the GameCube. And I think another reason that GameCube games are so expensive now is that people do not get rid of them. When people buy GameCube stuff, they tend to hold on to it because the games are so good. There's such good replayability with them, and so people are buying up GameCubes and building GameCube collections, and they're just not selling them. So the supply is just going down and down and down, which causes prices to go up and up. So today we're taking a look at what your childhood collection of GameCube games most likely looked like, and how much would it cost you to get that collection back today. So let's get started. All right, so just like last time, I have a list here pulled up of the best-selling GameCube games, and we're gonna go with about 15 titles, which we determined in the last episode is about roughly what an average person would have for a game collection growing up. So I'm going to pick about 10, maybe 11 games off of this list here, and then we'll fill out the rest with some other games that just, through my experience as being a collector and owning a game store, the games that I see come in quite often, the games that I see all the time, and the games that people are buying, so that it's kind of a good idea of the ones that maybe weren't the best selling, but are still games that people either really enjoy, they want, maybe they had when they were younger. So to start off, I think the top 3 here, we have to have, right? Smash Brothers, Double Dash, and Mario Sunshine. I know that I played all those when I was a kid. I never personally had Double Dash, but I definitely had Mario Sunshine and Melee. So I'm going to be adding those to the list. I'm probably going to skip Wind Waker and Luigi's Mansion. I know that that's crazy, but a lot of these titles are kind of interchangeable. Values are going to be pretty similar. So I'm going to go through the list here, and we're going to pick out some other ones. We only need one Mario Party, I think. And yeah, I'm just gonna pick about 10 and then we'll continue on. All right, so now that I have our 10 games picked out here, and like I said, this is probably gonna look pretty different from your actual collection, but a lot of the values and the titles are interchangeable just for the purposes of this exercise. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a list of GameCube games here. And like I said, just pick out about 5 more that are ones that maybe you had. Okay, so I decided to go with 17 games just because there's so many pretty popular GameCube titles. It's hard to kind of narrow it down. I wanted to make sure that I threw in at least one racing game and at least one sports game, because usually people had at least one even if they didn't play it. But there's so many other games I could have chosen, but I tried to pick some that are not crazy expensive, ones that are not crazy cheap, just kind of middle of the road stuff like Resident Evil 4, Need for Speed Underground, Simpsons Road Rage, stuff like that. So now that we have our games picked out, I'm also going to add to the list, we need a GameCube console. We're gonna do one extra controller. We're going to do a memory card. I'll just go with the 251 block because that's kind of the standard one. And I think that's probably it for like the accessories and all of that. So now that we have all of that in here, let's get the value and see what total we have. All right, so now that we have everything totaled out here, one thing that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned before we actually look at the full value here is that I'm using price charting, and it's not 100% accurate for everything at all times, right? So take it with a grain of salt. Depending on where you live, whether you're buying these through eBay, you're going to a local store, or if you get lucky and find some stuff at a thrift store or a garage sale or a pawn shop, the prices are going to be very, very different. But this is a good starting point to just kind of determine an average kind of value for these items. But if you see a price here, don't think that it's always worth that. Just has a variety of factors that will affect the price. So with everything here, right now, these are today's values. We have a total of $951.18, which is really, really crazy. If you watched the previous episode, that is over double the price of the Nintendo 64 collection. And yeah, we did include a couple extra games here, but just looking at the price of the games, the average price here, you can tell it is much, much higher. And a lot of these prices are even higher than they were brand new, which that's pretty crazy. When it comes to collecting GameCube versus Nintendo 64, most people will collect them with their original cases, at least if not with manuals as well. But for Nintendo 64, for older cartridges like that, everyone threw the boxes away like right when they got the game, because you don't need the box to protect the game. The cartridges are pretty sturdy. With the GameCube disc though, you need that case. So today, the boxes and manuals for Nintendo 64 games are incredibly expensive compared to the boxes and manuals for GameCube games. That's why we're seeing such a big difference in price here. If you're trying to just get everything with the original packaging, the N64 collection would have been way more than GameCube, but because the GameCube cases are so easy to keep with the discs, more people have them, and it ends up not being as big of a deal compared to the older cardboard for Nintendo 64. But either way, GameCube is not cheap, and this proves it. So there it is. Is this more or less than you were expecting for someone's average GameCube collection? A lot of the games are more than they originally cost at retail, so that's definitely skewing things a little bit. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, there will be a link in the description down below to the playlist for this series. This is only episode 2, but in the future, there will be plenty more to watch. So thank you guys so much. Let me know which console you want to see me do next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.